Alright, what's up everybody? Today we're going to be trying out the King and Queen's Call with ZANE. Now for those who don't know about the King and Queen's Call, they spawn from Troy and Tyreen, and the only difference between them are the elemental variants that they come with. So the King's Call comes with electric and incendiary damage, and the Queen's Call spawns with cryo, radiation, and corrosive damage. Now these things recently received a buff, which give them a critical hit damage increase of 108%. And that might not sound like a lot, but it really helps these things out, and it puts them in a much better place than where they were before. Also, when you score critical hits with these things, these little orbs spawn out, and they'll circle back and strike the original target that you struck, dealing massive damage. And that's where the critical hit damage increase comes into play. So starting off, we're going to be going with the shock variant with on action skill N next to magazines incendiary damage, cryo with on action skill N next to magazines deal corrosive damage, and a radiation variant with, while action skill is active, weapon damage is increased by 200%. We're going to be using the Seeing Dead as our class mod, and the Pearl of Knowledge as our artifact. So before we go any farther, let's take a look at the build. There's that. Alright, let's get to it.
Throw in the barrier.
Now this thing performs very well with flak as well, as do all Jacob's weapons. And I'm pretty sure that they'll be pretty good in the other two Vault Hunters, Amara and Moe's as well. But honestly, those two have so many other options that I really wanted to give these things a try with ZANE and flak as the main offerings. Now one of the main complaints about these things is that you gotta be scoring headshots in order to get consistent damage with them. In fact, if you're not getting critical hits, you're not really doing much damage at all. But there are a few ways around that. What I like to do is melee enemies, and on the first hit, you get a stagger. And since you'll be in such close range, it should allow you to get some pretty good headshots after that. Another way that these things work pretty well is with cryo damage, which is, I think, a big reason why I like them so much with ZANE. Freezing enemies allow you to score headshots very easily, just like that. So yeah, though you gotta be getting critical hits with them, it shouldn't be too hard, as long as your aim isn't too off. And honestly, scoring critical hits isn't too hard with this thing, especially if you get a variant with the scope. So if you're farming for these things, make sure that you get one with the scope on it. God, this electric variant is so powerful. I'm getting electricity, cryo, and incendiary with this thing. That makes this thing extremely deadly. Yeah, freezing enemies works so well with these things. Now these things happen to be pretty forgiving with what they consider to be a critical hit. It's like it's a giant bullet or something, so getting critical hits shouldn't be too hard. And once you score a critical hit, the orbs that spawn out deal so much damage, it shouldn't take too much more to take down your enemies. Another problem with these weapons could be the small magazine. But when you score critical hits, as with all Jacob's weapons, it returns bullets to your magazine. So you're really going to want to be aiming for those headshots. See how we can do from afar.
Are you seeing this? Open your bloody eyes!
Not too shabby at all. Let's see how we can do against this constructor bot. Aim for the critical hit. Beautiful. Alright, let's switch to the cryo variant for this. I think the orbs that spawn out have a weird interaction with ZANE's bore skill, or what's it called, eraser. After scoring a critical hit, I think they do even more damage. So again, that's another reason why I really like these things with ZANE. Man, that was a near instant freeze there. One benefit the ice variant does have though is you get more consistent freezes with it, which will definitely help out scoring those headshots. Maybe not as powerful as my electric variant, but it's still pretty strong nonetheless. For taking out these Goliaths, you want to knock off the helmet, and then as soon as the extra head spawns, just let her rip. Just let loose. So yeah, though this thing does rely on critical hits a lot, it shouldn't be too hard to get them. As long as you get right up in their face, you'll be able to score headshots pretty good. Just get right up in their face with it. And honestly, that shouldn't be too hard as long as you're using Zane's barrier skill. God, what's up with these Tink Riders? They always glitch out like this. I don't know why. Maybe it's just my game. Do they do this for anyone else? The cryo variant's very nice, especially for getting those consistent freezes. Yeah, even for taking out these loader bots, it's not too difficult. So make sure your aim is true. Alright, let's go with our radiation variant for this section. Oh, those radiation explosions are so beautiful. Beautiful. Pretty powerful. Maybe not as powerful as my electric variant, but it still does pretty well. I don't know though, it's doing pretty good. Maybe I underestimated it. Either way, these things are very powerful regardless. Oh yeah, radiation. Alright, next we're going to be trying this thing out with the Jacob's Company Man. And I know not a lot of people have the Jacob's Company Man, and not a lot of people really like to see it because it's so difficult to get. But I'll show this off for two reasons. I want to show it off at maximum damage, and I want to show that the power difference isn't that much different. So if you don't have a Jacob's Company Man, you shouldn't feel like you're missing out on too much. So starting off with the electric variant.
See? I got splits.
Okay, so the Jacob's Company Man is doing a bit more damage. Maybe I underestimated it a little bit. But of course, that is what you would expect from a Company Man artifact. But honestly, the power difference isn't that much greater. Yeah, I am dropping things a bit easier with this Company Man artifact. I'm one-shotting some of the smaller enemies a bit easier, and I'm taking down the bigger enemies a little bit faster. But still, I would say pretty comparable overall. Let's see how we do against this Goliath. That is granted I can get a headshot. Pretty comparable. The Pearl of Knowledge is so good on its own that you shouldn't really feel too bad about not having a Company Man's artifact. Though you will be getting a larger magazine. That makes a bit of a difference with this thing, considering the magazine capacity is so small. Alright, let's go with the radiation now. I didn't really show that off a lot in the last segment.
You got a death wish?
Alright, let's go up against this constructor bot. Yeah, I would say it took it down a little bit faster. Probe knowledge is still quite nice. I would say use it if you got it, and don't worry so much about using the Jacob's Company Man. Alright, and thus completes the demonstration of the King and Queen's Call with ZANE. I really do love this thing with ZANE, even though I think it'll do pretty well on flak as well, because of all the critical hit damage. With flak, being able to score critical hits on any part of the body will get those orbs to spawn a lot better and a lot easier. But with good aim, you can make this thing work with any of the Vault Hunters. Amara and Moze get pretty good splash damage, so can't forget about that. I just haven't really tested these things as much on those two. Now, I'm not sure if these things can roll with splash damage on action skill N. I've rerolled mine dozens of times, and I cannot get mine to roll with splash damage. But if any of you guys do, let me know. But alright everyone, that'll about do it. Good luck, Godspeed, and I wish everyone a good day.